Sitting pretty, one win away from returning to the NBA Finals for the sixth time in 8 seasons after seizing a 3-0 series lead over the Mavs in the West Finals. Teams to take a 3-0 series lead have an all-time series record of 146-0. The Warriors continue to dominate in the third. Golden State, led by Steph Curry's 31-point effort. Curry has already scored 30-plus points 7 times this postseason. Michael Jordan and LeBron James are the only players with that many 30-point games in a single postseason at age 34 or older. MJ and LeBron both won Finals MVPs in the season they did this. JJ back here with us. The Warriors, are they still looking like clear frontrunners, Stephen?
I wouldn't use the word clear, but they're frontrunners as far as I'm concerned, because I think that when you look at the Boston Celtics, there's a level of inconsistency. That's about it. When I look at the Warriors, I think about experience. I think about shooting. I think about the way they share the selflessness, the way they share the basketball, et cetera, et cetera. And I mean, right now, don't get me wrong, the Boston Celtics have made me nervous, very, very nervous, because when they amp up their defensive pressure, I mean, they are something to behold, and we know what they can do offensively when they get rolling. So, obviously, if this ends up being the Warriors versus the Celtics, I think it would be an incredible NBA Finals to look forward to. But right now, as nervous as I can be about it, I'm still holding on to the Warriors being that team to beat in the NBA.
Yeah, I have no problem with them being the front runners for the championship, either through Vegas or through prognosticators. I have no issue with that. I get it. But I look at each individual matchup in the playoffs, because matchups matter so much in the playoffs. And when I think about what the Warriors have done to the Mavericks, they've exposed that they don't have any rim protection. They've attacked Luka relentlessly, using his man as a screener. They're scoring about 1.16 points per possession on that. That's basically league equivalent of a top 5 offense in the NBA. When we talk about the 2 teams left in the Eastern Conference, the Heat and the Celtics, those problems that the Mavs had, they don't have those problems. They have rim protection. Both those teams inherently switch most of the stuff. Now, the Warriors on-ball switching is different, or their movement is different. So switching off-ball is different than switching on-ball, but they're used to switching. There's also, on both those teams, really no guys you can really target, specifically with the Celtics as well. Pritchard, obviously, in Game 1 against the Heat, was targeted in the fourth quarter by Jimmy Butler a number of times. But in their normal closing lineup, assuming they are healthy, there's no guys that you can just target as the guy being used as the screener. So I think about Bam. I think about Al Horford. The wing defenders of the Celtics, the wing defenders of the Heat. Like, these are tough matchups. These are tough matchups for the Warriors. Whoever it is that comes out of the East is going to give them a great series. And I also think the teams in the East are a little more battle-tested this season. Obviously, the Warriors, their core group is very battle-tested. They are champions through and through. They are champions. But specifically with what Boston has had to go through, and if they do end up beating the Miami Heat, having to beat Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, having to beat Giannis and the Bucks, having to now beat this Heat team that's basically a mirror image of them, I just think it's going to be a very interesting and tough finals for the Warriors. And they're more than capable of winning, but in my eyes, they're not the front runner. They are not the front runner. They have a chance to win the championship, but I think the team in the East is a tough matchup for them.
Listen, I think that if the Warriors ended up meeting the Celtics in the finals, it's a pick'em series. That's how deep I think this goes, because of how Boston plays defense. And what I saw Boston do against them in that second game of Golden State in the regular season, albeit it was the regular season, I still pay attention to that. But also, I would say this to you. I don't consider Miami and Boston a mirror image of one another. I want to be very, very clear about that. I think that when you look at Boston with the trifecta that is Brown, Tatum, and Smart, I think it's a little bit different in Miami, because I think there's a precipitous drop-off from Jimmy Butler, at least in the postseason. Not regular season numbers, but at least in the postseason. Even though Bam Adebayo stepped up and did what he did, Tyler Hero, for example, he's the reigning sixth man of the year. He's been struggling miserably in this series. Can't hit anything, as far as I'm concerned. He's got to step up. I think so. I think when you look at Butler and what you get from Struss and Butler, that's obviously something. I think that when you're talking about all the parts around those guys, I get where you're coming from. I'm just talking, I think that Boston's got 2 guys in Tatum and Brown and Miami only has one, and that's why I don't consider them necessarily a mirror image of one another.
Don't you think, we talked a little bit about this, after the Nets series and some during the Bucks series when Giannis had a couple inefficient nights.
Sure.
Don't you think Hero's struggles says more about the Celtics defense and why their defense is so good in the playoffs?
That's the thing. See, that's the difference between me and you. Let me tell you what the difference is between me and you. You're absolutely right. I'm not saying
Say it again.
you're absolutely right.
Okay.
But I don't care. Like, in other words, what I mean by that is this. JJ Redick, you could go up against a team, and you know what? They really know how to key on three-point shooters. Damn it, I still expect you to make those three-point shots.
That's fair.
That's all I'm saying. So, in other words, of course, there's an impediment to everybody's success. There's always a roadblock. This is the NBA we're talking about here. This is the greatest basketball league in the world. I fully understand that there are people that are playing the role of deterrent when it comes to Tyler Hero's production. I'm saying, ain't you the sixth man of the year? This is what I expect from you. The same thing you get, the same thing that you did that had people talking about you like you were an all-star, the same thing that won you the sixth man of the year award. I expect that dude. That's what we talk. When we prognosticate, to use your word.
That's more than fair.
When we prognosticate, that's what we're looking at. What we're saying is, we understand, but this is who you are. So if this is who you are, don't wait until the postseason to not be that person. That's all.
That's fair.
That's all.
That's fair. And as someone,
And I'm very fair.
as someone who lived
Very
it
fair.
14 seasons in the NBA, that's fair.
That's
So
right.
There are some series where I would be like, not my series, not my series, not a good matchup for me.
Yeah.
On the mirror image point, I just want to clarify. I mean more about how those teams defend. And
Okay.
That's specifically what I was talking about
gotcha.
as it relates to the Warriors. And the other thing, I know you said there's a drop-off, but I think you're underestimating just how valuable Bam is in the playoffs. And specifically against a team like the Warriors, because as we talked about in the first hour, they have absolutely killed the Mavs every time they have doubled Steph. You don't have to do that if you're the Miami Heat. You can switch. You can hedge.
Right.
You can play drop coverage at times. Bam can do it all. He's really the only five-man in the league who's capable of going for 19 and 10 as he averaged in the regular season and playing every coverage on defense.
I get you. But that Bam Adebayo didn't show up in games 1 and 2. And even though he exploded in game 3, it was assisted by the absence of Jimmy Butler in the second half, even though he had a strong first half. I'm simply saying, based on what we've seen, you look at Jimmy Butler compared to everybody else in the postseason, is Jimmy Butler and is everybody else. I know what Bam can do. Are you going to do it? We'll see.
Right, game 4 tomorrow. You know who knows how to show up in the postseason? That's Charles Barkley. You see how he showed up in Dallas? That's what you should have done when we were out there for the Cowboys.
I didn't need
He had
to do
you
that.
beat on that.
He didn't. No, he doesn't.
When we come
Nobody
he
has me beat when it comes to Dallas
absolutely
and
had
Cowboys.
you beat.
Not
He
at all.
went on a horse.
He could have helped him get off the horse. Did you see that?
Oh, it's great
That to help him get
television.
off of it.
Coming up, it was not the season Lakers fans wanted, if we're all being frank. So who will replace Vogel next season in LA? We've got the finalists next.